Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. And today's random review is of The Beast Must Die from 1974. And this is really more a review of the wonderful Powerhouse Indicator Blu-ray release of it, rather than the film itself. I've talked about the film before. I did a double take on its star, Calvin Lockhart. So if you're interested, you should go watch that. This is a film that scared me as a child. And it's been in my life for probably over 35 years. And it's kind of amazing that it's now on Blu-ray. This is the last horror film Amicus ever made. It does have a Blu-ray release on Severin Films in the States, but apparently it's not really that much better than the DVD. And the print on the Indicator release, which is spine number 178, after the opening titles, because again sometimes opening titles just with the superimposition of words on film never really look that good, even in Blu-ray upgrades. But once you actually get to the film itself, it's a really nice print. It's an Amicus film that I feel has been kind of disrespected and forgotten about, but hopefully with this release it will get a bit more publicity and love, because it's a fantastic little film. The one flaw is it's a werewolf film and the werewolf is rather underwhelming. But apart from that, and yes, you could argue that's quite a big bit, it's just a wonderful film. And Indicator have done a great job. Yes, I'm biased towards Indicator, but so you've got an audio commentary with director Paul Annett, who used to be an editor. This was his debut feature, and author Jonathan Southcott, and from 2003. And I'm so sad that I actually watched the film and then watched the film again with the commentary straight after. It's only 92 minutes and it's just so well paced that it just flies by. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. There's a 48-minute interview with Max J. Rosenberg, who was half of the driving force behind Amicus, along with Milton Subotsky. That's from 2000. There's also a BEHP interview with Jack Hilliard from 1988, who's a cinematographer, and also an Oscar-winning cinematographer. That's 92 minutes long. There's also a BEHP interview with Peter Tanner, the editor. That's part 2 from 1987, and that's 81 minutes long. I believe the first part of that is going to be on the upcoming Indicator release, I, Monster. There's an introduction by Stephen Laws from 2020, who's done a few of the introductions on the Hammer box sets for Indicator. There's a 13-minute interview directing The Beast with Paul Annett from 2003. There's a Super 8 version. There's original trailer. There's also Kim Newman and David Flint trailer commentary from 2017 for 2 minutes, because Kim Newman loves the film, why wouldn't you? There's also a booklet, and it's limited to 5,000 copies, even though because of the film it is, I doubt very much it's going to sell out anytime soon. So there's the disc. Again, you've got reversible artwork obviously that image of the wolf, that's Peter Cushing, the image of the wolf isn't actually the wolf from this film. It's a wolf from another werewolf film. And then we get the booklet. It's Paul Annett when he had hair. And again, it's got critical response images from the film. It's a lovely little booklet. The film is essentially an Agatha Christie but with a werewolf. It's just got lots of wonderful moments, lots of things to love about it, but it does have the one flaw of the werewolf is pretty weak. But we don't see it until about 50 minutes into the film. It has a wonderful cast. Calvin Lockhart is amazing in the lead role. They kind of were wanting to go or get on the coattails of kind of blaxploitation and Shaft. So Calvin Lockhart plays this big game hunter, multi-millionaire who wants to hunt a werewolf. So he gets these people to his house in the country, and he believes one of them is a werewolf because they all have kind of strange death stories that have happened around them. So he has Peter Cushing, who's this Norwegian professor whose passion is werewolves, even though he's an archaeologist. You have Michael Gambon in a very early performance as a concert pianist that has some deaths whenever he plays. You have another guy who was a junior doctor, and they all had a dare in eating some human flesh. You have a young woman who, again, death seemed to follow her about. You've got the wonderful Charles Gray as an ex-diplomat who, again, part of his kind of company died in savage circumstances, so he's now a bit part TV personality. It's just a wonderful, there's lots of little red herrings, there's lots of suspicion. It's just a great little whodunit, or what is it? Obviously there's a werewolf break about 70 minutes in where the film essentially stops and you're asked to have 30 seconds to figure out who the werewolf is, which is a gimmick that they probably got from William Castle. Paul Annett, the director, absolutely hated it. It was Amicus's idea, not his. He felt it kind of stopped all the momentum of the film. But I kind of agree with Kim Newman. It's just a nice little bit that kind of sets it apart. There's nice kind of trials where they all get to clutch a silver candlestick. The silver's instantly, poison to werewolves. Peter Cushing gives us, the rules and the exposition about werewolves without it sounding too kind of, tell us all about exposition. Anton Diffring's fantastic as he's the eyes and the ears of Calvin Lockhart, because Calvin Lockhart spent all this money and put in all these infrared sensors and microphones and cameras everywhere. And there's a wonderful scene where something leads Calvin Lockhart into the forest to get him away from the house, and then comes back to the house after Anton Diffring. It kind of is a precursor for Alien, the scene with Dallas, Tom Skerritt, and the ducts, and they're all telling him where to go and stuff, and then, it's coming for you. I mean, that's straight Alien, just pinched that. Same with the kind of motion trackers and Aliens. There's a lot of things in the film that were kind of ahead of their time. But again, I think the flaw, of the werewolf maybe made people forget about the film. It was relatively. It was kind of on BBC Two late night or BBC One late night quite a bit during the 80s, and then it kind of sunk without a trace. I mean, it's got a beautiful opening 10 minutes with Calvin Lockhart being chased through the forest with Anton Diffring telling, the guys with guns where he is. And because Anton Diffring made a career pretty much of playing Nazis, you kind of think this is going to be like a racist, most dangerous game. And then, of course, it flips to the fact Calvin Lockhart's actually the one in charge, and he's the rich guy. It's a great performance by Lockhart, because there's times where he's not a very nice man, because he's driven. He tells us how he had got out of the slums, and he is what he is, and how he made himself. And obviously he's driven, so you can only really think of the hunt and his goal. And it's only when events happen later in the film he kind of, takes stock and realises, there's human beings involved. So there's times where he's a bit of a git, but by the end of the film you still root for him. It is a film from 1974, so it has a 70s ending. It also has a kind of Amicus ending, if you're familiar with what that means. There's great rapport between the actors, but there's really, in Annett's commentary and also the little conversation with him, excuse me, there's a lot of interesting production notes. Like, Annett really wanted Shirley Bassey to actually play Calvin Lockhart's wife. Marlene Clark actually played his wife, who he'd worked with in America, even though she was dubbed by somebody else later in post. But originally wanted Shirley Bassey, who wanted to get into acting, but it never kind of happened. There's a wonderful scene where Charles Gray and Peter Cushing are playing chess, but bizarrely neither of them knew how to play chess, which is perhaps an earth-shattering revelation that Peter Cushing and Charles Gray didn't know how to play chess. So Paul Annett had to kind of teach them how to make it look as though you know how you're playing chess. It's just a bizarre little side note. So I would say, if you like your 70s horror, it's an essential film. Obviously if you don't, then perhaps you're going to give it a miss, but it's not really a scary film. There's a little bit of gore, which is quite effective, but it's more about characters. Like I say, you don't actually see the werewolf until about 50 minutes into the film, which is obviously kind of rare for werewolf films, because I think they knew the werewolf was going to be a little underwhelming, so they had to really build character. It's people you actually get to know, and there's a certain character, when they die you actually miss them, which again doesn't really happen that often in films in general, but certainly not kind of 70s horror films. Shot exclusively, pretty much. Certainly the scenes in the mansion or Shepperton Studios, that was kind of the house on Shepperton, and it's beautiful production design, very opulent house. Yeah, it's just so much film. It's so much fun. It's certainly not like a masterpiece or anything, but it just has a lot of charm to it, and also has a special place for me because it's been with me for over 35 years, and it's just brilliant. It's actually a bit surreal actually holding an indicator Blu-ray of it, because I never thought that it would actually get a proper Blu-ray release, but it's just wonderful to have it and to add it to the Indicator catalogue. I know I'm biased, but it's another amazing coup for Indicator. It's a lot of fun figuring out who the werewolf is, and then once you know who the werewolf is, you can go back and watch it again and see if there were any little hints. Again, there's nice red herrings. Everybody's a suspect. It's just a great wee enjoyable film you can watch at night. But don't expect an amazing werewolf. So thanks very much for watching. Please leave comments below if you have seen The Beast Must Die, or The Beast Must Die, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell.